War II, they're kind of tricky. But not yet. Now, the US is out here in a big way. They just defeated Japan in World War II, they're kind of trying to leave Asia, and they're eyeing all of this and deciding to not get involved. They don't recognize Mao's new country, the PRC, and they do hate that a communist government now controls the world's most populous country. But they have other priorities, namely rebuilding Europe after the big war. They've just created a big military alliance with their European allies to counter Soviet influence. The Soviet Union was their friend in the war, but is now their rival. Oh, and they just got nuclear weapons like the US did 4 years earlier. President Truman's Secretary of State draws this line on a map, shows it to people at a press conference, saying that anything outside this zone is outside of America's defense commitments. This includes Korea and Taiwan that, remember, the US said would be given back to China after the war, and Vietnam, where local communist fighters are kicking out the French, declaring a new communist country that is being recognized by China and the Soviet Union. Are kicking out the French, declaring a new communist country that is being recognized by China and the Soviet Union. This is all concerning to the United States, but this is outside of their perimeter. Back in Washington, the communist hawks are hating that the US is letting communism spread in Asia, that Taiwan will soon fall. But Truman says this is a civil conflict in China. We're going to leave it to them to work out. That's the policy. That is until everything changes all at once. It's a morning in the summer of 1950, and a flood of Korean troops from the Soviet-aligned side of Korea rush across this line. They tear through the American-aligned South, almost taking the whole country in just 11 weeks. It's another communist revolution, and these soldiers are equipped with Soviet guns, tanks, and artillery. They invaded only after getting the green light from the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, who also, by the way, said they needed to get the green light from Mao. Now, Mao had been hesitant to support this invasion of Korea, knowing that it might invite the wrath of the United States, but he had to show that he was willing to support communist revolutions everywhere. Eventually, he would commit some of his troops to go fight in Korea to help his fellow communists liberate the Korean peninsula. Now, the US doesn't have troops in Korea in this moment. Remember, it's outside of their perimeter. But now they're starting to change their mind. This is starting to look like a coordinated communist conspiracy all across the region. It's threatening to turn the whole map red. But there's still time to push it back. The US crosses the line that they drew a few months earlier and goes full force to stop the spread of communism. Truman tells the nation that he's sending troops to Korea, and in the same speech, he also says that he's ordered a huge naval fleet to Taiwan to, quote, prevent any attack. He's not going to let Mao take the island now. And to justify this sudden U-turn, Truman says something that...
That's how Esau works, the serpent, divide and conquer. You shall speak great words against the Most High. That's him being in power. It's Mr. Truman there being in power and going to talk with them heathens, man, to divide them. This is Daniel 7 and 24. Actually, it was 25. And they shall be given into... And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. They accomplish the diligent search. Psalm 64:6. They plot injustice and say, we have devised the perfect plan. Surely the human mind and heart are cunning. That's what the think tanks do. You think Truman just decided to come up with that? No. You think Trump decided to come out with those laws he brings out? No. Those are all, there's people behind the scenes. We watch everything. When you empower something, you have something, a large amount of stock with you in your home, bro. You manage everything. You have security, you have guards, maids, servants, bodyguards. You gotta have everything. You watch everything. You gotta have eyes in the sky, as they would call it. When you were with your friends and you play with your Pokemon cards in elementary school, right? You had to go to the corner to take them out, your Pokemon cards. There was a person that would have to be someone in the back, remember they would have some one person in the back to go watch the fucking teachers to see if they're doing it or not. They're gonna will come to you or not, basically. Like, you gotta have eyes, basically. The point is you gotta have eyes. To say all that to say this, you gotta have eyes, you gotta have examples and eyes. Pictures and visuals, bro, and truths.
Truman says something that will influence how the U.S. approaches this situation to this day. He says that Taiwan isn't actually officially a part of any country yet. It had been a Japanese colony until Truman says something that will influence how the U.S. approaches this situation to this day. He says that Taiwan isn't actually officially a part of any country yet. It had been a Japanese colony until 1945, when Japan surrendered it when they lost the war. But they technically haven't worked out their sovereignty in any official treaty yet. So for now, Taiwan's status is technically undetermined, which makes it okay for us, the United States, to move in and protect it from Mao. Now, Mao is looking at all of this, and I can imagine he's feeling some regret over the green light he gave the North Koreans to invade the South. He was looking more like a strategic error, which brought the US into his neighborhood, prevented him from taking this island. And so, for the next 3 years, this brutal Korean War rages on. It eventually settles into a tense stalemate that still hasn't ended. So it's 1953, and it's looking like the US is going to be in Asia for a while, all in the name of containing the spread of communism, which they do by building out a chain of island bases that form this line of defense against their communist enemies. And you can see that Taiwan is right at the center of it.
And that was ultimately Esau trying to grope whatever was left of this earth and of the empires to grope. Like a man with a woman who he finds attractive, vulnerable and weak. And some dark, starry night, Saturday night, lonely night, and you know what happens with that. The rest. And I want to get this remind me of this scripture here, which is goes like once again in Habakkuk, it is as death it is not satisfied, it's Esau, and it's ultimately also the hedge of protection. This is in Genesis 4, going back to Cain, the hedge of protection Cain had. That's really how Esau was able to climb up. And ultimately, while Truman was doing that, I mean, you already had the elites in the back. Extra safe, extra cozy, extra rich and safe in their homes. This is Genesis 4. Their castles. They don't have homes, they have castles. Palaces. We're going to have palaces soon enough. This is Genesis 4 in verse properties, actual properties. You can go outside and walk a whole 100 fucking miles and still your fucking shit. You still have a couple 100 miles to walk, my dude. It's gonna be our shit. It's Genesis 4 in verse you gotta find the point. Gotta find it. 13. This was after Cain killed Abel, so Cain's talking to a prophet. It says, and Cain said unto the Lord, Yahweh, through a prophet. This was through a prophet. My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out of this day from the face of the earth, a wanderer, a vagabond. And from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond. I mean, hobo in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. So everyone that basically the hatred people have of Esau, thou art greatly despised. So Esau already was greatly despised in the interlude to what he is now, the climax of what's going to proceed now, his major power at the time, at the peak prime of his power, he's gonna fall. Spiritually, bro, because the earth is destroyed. Esau can't conquer. He can't rule the kingdom. And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whoso slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him. This was the protection the Lord put on him then, sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any, that mark was the mark of leprous, unclean, and then clean lepers. In some certain cases, Esau is a clean leper. That blonde hair means you're an unclean leopard, by the way. Certain jakes come out that way. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any find in him should kill him. Really, that's originally a mark for Esau, Edom, the Edomites, because I have an aunt who's Mexican. She was born in Mexico, born and raised there. She had came out when she was born with her blonde hair. But actors like Eminem, I think he was this unclean leopard too. I think he was really not blonde. I think unless he's blonde. But anyway, going back to the point. Yeah, that was the hedge of protection Esau had. Because if you think about it, all those wars, the First World War, Second World War, that was the hedge of protection the Lord put on him. The fact that China could have attacked him at any time
against their communist
elites, could have gotten killed at any, smoked at any time. Could have found out their plan, their Illuminati plan, and did a whole house sweep on their asses. All that could have happened. King James could have ended up building his military and taking out the Rothschilds over there in Italy, Rome. It could have happened. It could have happened. Just to give you it didn't happen because it was the will of the Lord, but just give you an idea of these things could have happened. They had the power because the Lord is with them. If the Lord ain't with them, they don't have no power. Esau is in power right now because the Lord put him there safely. He safely lifted him up there, and he's going to bring him down violently soon.
Enemies, and you can see that Taiwan is right at the center of it. Congress gives the president full authorization to defend Taiwan. The president is allowed to put nukes on the island. Mao, meanwhile, is reshaping his country in huge ways, and he needs to drum up support from his people, which he does by initiating an attack, unleashing tens of thousands of rounds of artillery on these close-by islands that the Republic of China still controls. The US wants to show Mao how serious they are about coming to Taiwan's defense. US military planners draw up plans to drop nukes on the PRC. In one plan, they calculate up to 1 million potential casualties if they do the attack, but they never do. But they do send in a huge armada of military hardware, 2 super aircraft carriers and their destroyer convoys, 56 combat aircraft, a bunch of their most high-end missiles, capable of...
Oh, this one. That's when you get the sword. You saw his blessed sword, man. Alright, which I'm gonna get back to the point in a second, but hey, so boys, the sword is 27. Brought that out earlier. I don't have to get it again, but yeah, the sword right there, blessing.
You know, hard rock is built on.
So yeah, going back to Revelation 6, the red horse is given a great sword. Like all them jets, all them boats you saw the US set in there. Taiwan, look at this.
Missiles capable of deploying nuclear weapons, not to mention all the backup in Japan and the Philippines. The US is there, making good on its promise to defend their strategically important island, to keep supply lines open and force Mao to think twice before invading. Now this is looking like the beginning of another bloody war. which is exactly what the Soviet leader back in Moscow is thinking. He sends a telegram to the United States, a pretty long telegram, telling them to back down. This hasty military buildup with nukes that are all concerning a Chinese island that was never theirs. He says this is an open provocation, and then he reminds the US that China isn't alone. China and the Soviet Union are friends, brothers in communism. And he says that an attack on China will be treated as an attack against the Soviet Union, which will lead to World War III, this time with nukes. Then he signs it, sincerely, N. Khrushchev. I mean, this is a tense moment, but ultimately, both sides back down. But not really. The US keeps tens of thousands of troops here. They keep their nukes ready to go. And right here across the strait, neither of the two Chinas want the other to have the last.
So I like this video. It goes very in depth, going into the history of it. So I always wanted to know. I didn't really know that much like that, but I'm about to skip it in a minute. If you want to go watch the whole clip, there's the channel and the name of the title.
Shot.
It came out recently, like a couple hours ago. Today is the 20th December 2025.
They keep shooting a few shells at each other every day, eventually settling into this weird rhythm. Mao's PRC troops fire a few shells. The next day, the Republic of China troops on Taiwan would fire a few shells of their own. Never hitting anything valuable or lethal, but just a reminder that tension is high. They will go on to do this every day for the next 21 years. Okay, so we just narrowly avoided World War III, and things are about to dramatically change. It's March 1996, and the US sends 2 aircraft carrier battle groups to the waters near Taiwan. It's the largest show of force in this region since Vietnam. The standoff dies down, and while all of this is happening, on the island, this first democratic election goes forward peacefully. Taiwanese voters turn out in huge numbers, 76%. They're defying this attempt to be bullied by their big neighbor, who they identify less and less with. And a version of this conflict is overseen by Xi Jinping, who rises to lead the PRC in 2012, with the vision of rejuvenating the Chinese nation. This includes fortifying their territory, including first and foremost Taiwan, a symbol of this effort, who, quote, must be reunited with the mainland, according to Xi. This vision has been paired with a rapid growth of the Chinese army.
So you get the point, basically. They want that. They both want that island, and the elites just want mass death. They're funding both sides of the war. Which last week you had, I want to read this first. China voices support for Venezuela amid U.S. blockade. So yeah, China voices they didn't send any aid though, so it's showing you they don't really care a fuck. But it's showing you too that they're against the U.S. Basically against the U.S. I mean, one heathen ain't gonna want to be under another heathen either. This shit is like a Game of Thrones right here, but with some steroids all hyped up in it because these elites are in the back still ruling. They're still calling the shots. Let me get the article I wanted. This was oh yeah, I wanted to get this. Yeah, it went back to the Ukraine war, and then last week you had China and Russia too. Or Russia also this, which by the way, Russia also doesn't like U.S. Picking with Venezuela. So those Russians are heathens too, by the way, but they don't really care about. They ain't really going out there to help, but because really Yahushua, we're gonna be freed by Yahushua, not man. But Yeah, and then last week, China and Russia did a military drill together. Ukraine is building nearly 1,000 specialized drones a day to counter Russia's Iranian shot heads. Ukraine's defense ministry said on Thursday that it has been supplying its troops with roughly 950 interceptor drones every day since the beginning of December. As a response to Russian launching the waves of Iranian-designed Shaheeds, that it's like a stealth rocket launcher, grenade, whatever. In this one, Russia deploys Chinese-made laser system along Ukrainian border. Russian troops on the border have deployed their Chinese laser air defense system to counter Ukrainian drones. The trials lasted 3 months, and according to the outlet, confirmed the effectiveness of laser system, allegedly destroying hundreds of Ukrainian drones. So, yeah, Russia's preparing putting up a defense system. Their defenses up, their offenses. Ukraine doing vice versa. I think that was the point. I'll close out with this. It's going back to the last video. For more than $4 billion, the U.S. authorized the sale of additional HIMARS and hundreds of ATACMS ballistic missiles to the Taiwanese army. The government of the United States authorized yesterday the potential sale of HIMARS systems and hundreds of ATACMS ballistic missiles, which would be intended to equip the Taiwanese army. And you know what I'm thinking about? It's something that popped in my mind as I'm reading this. Which has everything to do with it anyway. Because Yahushua is going to come to destroy you heathens anyway. Proceeding to Zephaniah 3 and 8. For my determination, scattered you nations, I may assemble the kingdoms, pour upon mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured by the fire of my jealousy. So it says that which would be intended to equip. Yeah, this is what came to my mind. Because that's really what World War 3 is about. It's really what all this hell and pain we feel in cash here is about. An eternal prize, an eternal reward, an eternal kingdom. Having our enemies under us over them eternally. Think of before in the past how we came up, how all the riches and gold and wealth, happiness and peace, what people seek in prosperity in this life still to this day as individuals, and us as Israelites, man, we're just doing on the bottom and on the low, just to end up coming up on top like that in an eternal God level status. To Esau, once we see Esau down on our plantations, down with his teeth cemented on the dirt. I want to put some of my teeth on the dirt, man. Have the dirt in their teeth. which relies heavily on equipment supplied by Washington to consolidate its defense, according to So U.S. here basically selling all these missiles, ballistic missile systems to Taiwan to equip the Taiwanese army, which relies heavily on equipment supplied by Washington to consolidate its defense. According to officially published information, this would be an operation requiring an investment of more than $4 billion from Taiwan's coffers. So you think they're spending all this money just for it to come to nothing? No, I don't think so. And which has already been notified by the U.S. Department of State or Congress. With that, that's the point. The third one coming quickly once again. Yeah, no. There ain't gonna be no peace because Russia wants to land. Vladimir Putin wants to land here. He still has resources. When the war first started, a couple months into it, they said it would end that same year because Russia was gonna run out. If he doesn't run out this year, he's gonna run out next year, 2023. This war is still going on. It's still driving. It's still pumping. Like a man's shaft inside a woman when it's feeling her real good. That's how it's running. It's still running. So it just wouldn't make sense for this thing to just turn back. For like Russia just claim peace and trying to claim peace, and for this peace and to just turn back this thing back. No, after all that, no. And these elites want this war to happen. That's the thing. They want this war to happen. They actually want the third nuclear war to happen, but for wicked reasons, for their own wicked enterprise to continue. We want this to happen because it's going to bring, to us, it's going to be a sign that Yahushua's return is coming. When the mark of the beast comes, it's a sign that Yahushua's return is coming. So, hey, man, I'm all for it, man. These elites are gun-ho for bringing that to go ahead, man. All good for us, better for us. You're stupid because you're literally following the script and you're not even trying. You're not even going to be trying to go against the script because you're a retard, bro. But it's all good for us anyway. That's what I would be trying to do if I was these devils, man. It's Revelation 11 and verse. It would only be the wisest thing to do. But we know we ain't in our own control, so they want to understand that. It's Revelation 11 and verse 14, and I'll close. I would think I'm going to close with this. The second woe is past. The third means destruction. The woe means destruction, and the third destruction coming quickly. And this third destruction is going to come quickly, expeditiously. This is what's the cherry on top of what this World War 3 is going to cause. This is Psalm 46 and 6. Get to the point. The point is here. The heathen raged. So the heathens, their heathens are raging. They've been raging, but they're going to fully rage when they start shooting at each other. The kingdom was removed. The kingdoms were moved. That's when the kingdoms are going to be moved. And the Yahushua is going to come right here. He uttered his voice. Yahushua is going to utter his voice, and the earth is going to melt. True Yahweh the Father. Get missiles. I'm going to jump down to verse 9. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. That's what's what Yahushua is going to come to do. When he comes, he's going to make these wars to cease. After the final war, obviously, in the battle of Yehoshaphat, or Armageddon, Armageddon, he breaketh the bow, and cutteth the spear in sunder, he burneth the chariot in the fire. Hey, that's no coincidence. It links with Ezekiel 39. Right after Ezekiel 38, you're talking about Russia. Ezekiel 39, the Lord's first verse, it says the Lord is against Russia, the Gog and Magog. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Salah. That's all we need. Scriptures to comfort us. Tools. We've been given spiritual tools. The faith, the joy, the happiness, the patience, the scriptures, the fastings to go deeper with the Lord. Connect and focus deeper in lift up your spiritual man, which is your true man, not this weak flesh man. All these distractions and shit, TikToks, shorts, and entertainment out here. That's for sure, man. But so we gotta focus, and they are. Glory to be able to come is greater than what we're suffering at the current moment. Scriptures say, and Lord's going to be, once again, I'll close Psalm 46 and 10. And be still and know that I am God. So we got to be still like that. Those things I just described. And know that the Lord is power. I will be exalted among the heathen. The Lord's going to be exalted among the heathen, man. You think the Lord ain't going to want all the earth to praise him and recognize his name, but that they will come. Statues of Yahushua, great grand statues of Yahushua in the middle of Jerusalem, in other centers of the world. We're going to set up. They can know, and the earth can finally always remember the name. Yah will be exalted in the earth. The Lord is going to be exalted in the earth. And this is what's going to be done, starting with now, through these words we speak, through our prophecies of faith and believing in these things. It's going to be done. So that is point Shalom and a bar. We'll just edify Shalom.